Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to our webinar today. So today we're going to spend about the next 30 minutes talking with Joe Morone about the most important skill set that CEOs are missing that should be the most important part of their job. So 30 minutes we'll go through some questions and answers and have a good discussion about the topic, and then for about another 15 minutes we'll be available to answer any questions that you have. But just wanted to give you an overview of the format of the meeting, and we'll jump right in and get started. So I'd like to first take the opportunity to thank Joe for coming. So Joe, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And just to tell everyone a little bit about Joe. So Joe Morone is the co-founder of World Leaders, and he's the B2B technology sales researcher and sales strategist for World Leaders. He's the lead sales trainer of our Smart Sales Institute for B2B technology sales. He's the co-author of the 5-star rated book, The Smart Sales Method for B2B Technology Sales Teams. And he speaks nationally and internationally at sales trainings and sales conferences. His guidance in implementing the right sales strategy, sales methods, and developing skills have helped over 120 companies, thousands of customers, and firms differentiate, win more sales, and realize new growth. So I think it sounds like we have a person who knows what they're talking about here. And Joe, we're happy to have you today to tell us more about what CEOs need to do relative to sales.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
Perfect. So I guess let's start off, tell me why you picked this topic. So we're here with a group of CEOs, and you're saying that CEOs don't know the most important part of their job. So just so we get things off on the right foot, tell me a little bit about what brought us to this topic and what we're going to learn here today.
I was looking for a catchy topic, so I thought perhaps insulting 8,000 CEOs on our mailing list might grab some attention.
Well, at least some of them are here to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
So say it to their face.
Yeah, mainly I wanted to really create some visibility into what is the most important part of a CEO's job. And if you were to look at the job descriptions of CEO job titles, and you'd see things like responsible for all major decision making, product development, knowledge of the organization, operational leadership, cash flow analysis. Basically, they're involved in every decision in the organization. But just a few really describe the CEO as the chief sales officer or the highest ranking salesperson in the organization today. And the majority of technology CEOs, the majority of the small to medium-sized technology CEOs just don't see themselves that way, right? Most B2B technology CEOs don't think day-to-day about leading their sales teams, right? They're not meeting with the sales teams daily. They're not working with the sales manager if there is one. They're not discussing strategy. They're not discussing major deals. They're hoping that the sales department will bring in the revenue for the organization, and if it doesn't, they're not really sure exactly what to do. So when we looked closely at the most successful technology companies, the IBM Global Services, Cognizant, everyone knows the Apple story with Steve Jobs, but what we really look at as a key indicator of technology company health is if that CEO is sales oriented or not, if he or she is focused on sales improvements, driving the sales team. So that's why, in a long answer, that's why I wrote the title the way it is, and that's why I wanted to have this webinar today.
But isn't it easy to say that should be the job of the sales leader or the sales manager? Isn't it their job to do these things?
Yeah, the answer is the sales manager should carry out the strategy set forth by the CEO, right? So the sales manager should be able to execute day to day, but that should happen. Let's look at some statistics, though. 86% of sales managers assessed have less than 21% of the skills required to motivate, coach, and lead a sales operations. So the reality here is that the majority of the sales managers out there just don't have the 3 key skills required for leading sales. And we'll talk about those later in this topic.
Well, so let's talk about that then. What is that skill set that they're missing? What don't they have?
Yes. Just hold 1 second, please. Yes. Okay. So
the CEOs are missing a skill set. You said they're missing one skill set. Tell me what that is.
yes, it really is. Their belief system really is about product or service superiority, right? They're really focused on, do we have a better product than the top 5 competitors? Is our price to the market effectively, and those types of things, instead of having a superior ability to sell their products, right? The majority of the tech companies out there that are leading, they're not simply leading because they have a better product, right? It's very difficult to measure these days.
Well, how can you have the best product? Everyone, all the time.
Sure, and if you do, that best product advantage, that will buy you 3 or 4 months, because a good organization will find your product, understand it, and build better than that.
Right.
So the reality here is that the tangible skill that a CEO can drive to the organization is the superior ability to sell their products effectively.
So there's probably some steps inside of that, because that's a pretty broad topic. So let's break it down and tell us, within that overarching, sales skill set, what's the first thing a CEO needs to focus on?
Sure. So now that we're talking about the most important CEO skills, let's talk about the number one piece, right? Within those skills, number one is having a sales methodology. And in most organizations, and I can see by looking in your eyes, right? I mean, most organizations.
Well, what is a methodology?
Sure. It means many things to many people, but let's just say the organized approach that a sales team takes from the first hello to a closed PO. What they do sequentially in a sales cycle to ensure that every step, every conversation, every interaction with the customer has the highest probability actions and is repeatable and can be scaled and repeatable.
Do you find that this exists on some level in the organizations you deal with? Can they articulate it? What's the state that you usually find as you've worked with over 120 companies?
Let's say this: the companies that excel at this, right, within the organization, they have a methodology and they can point to it. And they have a way that they can educate a customer, teach a customer right out of the gate how that customer can improve a business result. So their opening message is always going to be about how their organization can help their customer improve their business results. They have a way of leading the evaluation process, right? Leading through the evaluation process. And not being subjected to it, and they have the ability to close on relative value. So there's always some traceable steps in terms of how to open up a call, how to lead and work with decision makers and get to all the decision makers and lead them through the evaluation process, and how to close on what we'll call relative value or best fit. So when you look at this, the best of the best have it, and that represents 1 or 2%.
Wow.
Of all the companies out there.
Right.
98, 99% of the organizations out there don't have anything that looks like that. Right? So the statement at the bottom here of this slide says that if your sales team cannot describe what they're doing as a method, they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So one of the challenges I'll put out there, I'll say that anyone that's on this call, over the next hour or two, go and meet with your sales team and ask them what are their sales methods, right? How do they open up a call with a customer? How do they gain access to all the decision makers and develop a business case? And what does that business case look like? And what proposals do they have in place, and how do they present and close? And see, one, if it's effective, and two, if it's consistent. You're going to be very disappointed in what you see.
Right.
Most salespeople, most untrained or unstructured sales teams believe it's all about the relationship, visitation, being nice to a customer, feature functionality demonstrations, demo, and that's going to make it work. And it's not.
No, interviewing a lot of salespeople, I can certainly attest to the fact that not many of them can describe a process in detail, step by step, and it's exciting when you find those that can. Okay, so sales is the skill set. Having a methodology in place is step one. Where do we go from there as the CEO? So now we've got those two things going. Is that enough, or is there more skills?
No, not enough. But it's first off, it's the single best thing that a CEO can do is ensure, again, that they have a methodology from which to drive sales.
Okay.
Right? And that their board of directors will like to see that, their sales team will like to see that, their customers will like to see that. The second piece is having a pipeline development strategy, right? And sometimes those words don't even go together, but when you look at it, what is the strategic approach that an organization takes that's driven, that's led by the CEO as far as developing pipeline? And by pipeline, I mean...
Yeah, how do you define pipeline? I think people say a lot of different things there.
Yeah, let's really...
Or what's a lead? What's an opportunity?
Yeah, I get this all the time. Let's make it very, very clear. Whether you're in marketing, whether you're in sales, whether you're a sales engineer, a CEO, a pipeline opportunity is when you're working with a real decision maker on the customer side, right? You're working with a or the decision makers.
Okay.
Not just people that are kicking tires. That there's a business reason why this customer needs to implement your solution, and by business reason, I mean that they have to buy your technology to improve their sales results, reduce their cycle time for delivering their product, improve their first-time quality, meet compliance, or drive their profitability. There's a business reason why they need to buy it, and their plan is to make a decision within the next 12 months. That is a true pipeline opportunity.
And so when you start finding opportunities that meet that criteria, that gets challenging. How big of a pipeline is a healthy pipeline?
Yeah. Let's talk about what is an anemic pipeline or an unhealthy pipeline. An unhealthy pipeline is when the total dollars in your pipeline is lower or equal to the expected revenue for sales that year. So if you're looking to have a $10 million year and you've got $10 million in the pipeline, that's not going to work.
No.
You're sequential.
Clearly not.
Mathematically, you're putting unless you have 100% close, that's not going to work. So what we look at is a 3-to-1 pipeline to expected close sales. So in a $10 million company, we're looking at 30 million of real pipeline, meaning that they're working really with a real decision maker, that there is a business case, and this customer is looking to do this within the next 12 months. Now you've got a healthy pipeline. Until now, that has been the responsibility of the sales manager or the sales people. When you look at the complexities of developing a pipeline strategy, it really breaks down to what we'll call the 3 M's, right? What is the market that we're going after? Meaning the geography, the industry, right? The verticals of the industry, and the decision maker titles that we want to be important to. That's the first M.
Right.
The second M of the 3 is the message. Are we using the right message? In that first 5 seconds, are we able to describe an end state that customer needs to be in from which they buy our product?
And so we're just calling them to deliver this message?
Well, if you look at this graphic, there is a call involved,
right?
But it's a little bit later in the sales cycle, right? So when you look at this ability to be able to use the combination of networking events, teaching events, webinars, seminars like the one that we're on today, corporate communications, social media, LinkedIn is the one for B2B, and then emails and calls to targeted customers. Now you're positioning yourself to that customer as a teacher, as a center of influence, instead of hoping that they'll answer the phone.
And wasn't this what marketing is supposed to do for our organization?
Oh, I love that question. Sure. Whether we call it marketing, sales engineering, or customer services, there's a saying, nothing happens until something is sold. So if you look at marketing's job in 2016, 17, and beyond is to develop, to work under the CEO's direction in developing and taking the activities required to develop pipeline from which the sales team can begin working and making sales too.
So you said there were 3 M's: market, message, and I took you off track there. What's the final M?
Method, the sales method that we just spoke about. So the 3
Back
M's.
to the method.
Yes, unfortunately.
That again.
Fortunately, yes.
All right, so now we're working on our sales. We have a method. We've got a pipeline. Does that put us where we need to be as a CEO, or is there still more to this skill set we call sales?
As we said, nothing happens till something is sold, and we know through the hard way that nothing is sold until something is closed, right?
It is.
Right.
True enough.
How many times have we heard the saying, it's 99.999% done, or it's a done deal, it's in the bag, all those...
Probably in every sales meeting.
Yeah, right, and that's the scenario where the deals just don't get closed. We're seeing scenarios here where they're not getting closed, they're not getting presented properly, they're not getting closed. So this is complicated. Yeah.
But you're saying the CEO closes deals?
They're the master closer, right? Think about it in a situation where you've got a salesperson working with the business level, the user level, and the financial evaluation level stakeholders on the customer side. And that sales team is presenting a complex technology that's really going to impact the customer's business. And they're making this good presentation. If that CEO is aware of that sales cycle, is in that presentation or even telephonically in that presentation, but he or she can say to the other CEO of the company, right, to the other executive,
right,
hey, listen, I've worked through this with my team. I understand the business objectives. I believe we've got the right fit. I believe we're doing this at fair market price. And if there's any complexities, here's my cell number, and we can work together on this thing. That CEO, that executive to executive sponsorship in a sales cycle is incredible, right? It is an important piece of it. But it's not just to do that. It's really to ensure that 3 steps are happening, that there are 3 important pieces are happening within the close.
So what are the 3 pieces? Tell us a little bit more about those so the CEO knows what they're looking for.
Sure. So let's look at this graphic, right?
Right.
What you'll see here is it all starts off with being able to develop what we'll call a world-class proposal.
What makes it world-class?
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask that. But let's start off with what makes a proposal not world-class. When it's pages and pages and pages about how great your company is, right? And it's
We don't want to tell them what we're good at?
Well, we do, but not on the first page, not on the top of the first page, right? On a world-class proposal, the top of the first page is the customer's business objectives and their quotes when you've conducted the fit assessment. So you will see in a world-class proposal, the very first thing should be, after meeting with blank, 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 and blank, we learned that ABC company is looking to improve sales results by 36%, and that's from the CEO. We learned that the product manager is interested in penetrating a new market, and that is from Jim Smith, the product manager, and that the solution has to be within an X number of dollars budget. When you can state the customer's business objectives in quotes that came from them, because you've asked the 11 questions, the magical questions, then you've got the business objectives piece built. The second part of a world-class proposal is the alternate strategies considered, right? There are many solutions that can be done other than buying from you. One of them can be doing nothing, that it's not important enough, there's no return on investment, there's not enough there, and a reason could be not to do it at all. Another one could be their internal team can do it. The majority of deals out there right now, the internal competitor is the strongest, or a competing organization. So in a world-class proposal, you not only state the business objectives, but you also state the alternate strategies considered by both teams.
Wow, isn't that risky, telling them what else they can do besides work with us?
You know, the people that we're selling to today, they'll figure it out, right?
They're probably smart enough.
Sure. And also we know that at some point in a sales cycle, someone is going to enter that sales cycle from corporate or from a different direction to say, why are we doing this?
Right.
Why are we doing this now? Why can't our people do this?
So you're saying put it right out there.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
Thinking together, working together,
Mm-hmm.
and that's called objection inoculation versus objection management.
Makes sense.
Right. So the next piece of that is the functionality, usability, reliability, and scalability of your solution. So you're describing that, a graphic and a sentence or two, but that's maybe a half a page. You really want to show that.
Mm-hmm.
Page 2, we want to be very careful with our paging here. Page 2 is really going to be about the schedule, the deliverables, and the customer's acceptance criteria. A basic work breakdown structure or a schedule of events that will take place. Because procurement will always ask, what are the actual deliverables, what are we going to get, and how do we know they're going to satisfy our needs, and when are we going to get them? So breaking that down into one very simple table file is an important piece.
Right.
The next piece is price. We can't hide price on page 99 any longer.
So it's on page 2?
It's on page 2.
Okay.
In fact, I like to say if you print this world-class proposal double-sided, it's on one,
Keep it all in one.
on one sheet of paper.
Right.
Right? And you're describing the price, any discounts that you applied, and any terms and conditions, very simply. Now the last 25% of the second, or the last half of the second page, is really going to talk about your unique qualifications.
Okay.
Not your general qualifications, but your unique qualifications based in procurement terms. There's product superiority, customization to need, the ability to meet a timeline, price discounts, technology integration, cultural integration. And you're going to basically give a sentence or two on that.
And how are these presented?
Well, look at the second piece here, the bi-directional presentation. Let's again go into how it should not be done,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's mostly done. Most of the time, there's not a world-class proposal, but there's a price quote. Right? There's a part number or a parts list and a price. So if you're only showing the customer the price, what can the conversation only be about?
Well, the price.
Sure.
And then I want it lower.
Right, exactly right. And then salespeople say, well, I don't sell on price, I sell quality. Well, how do they demonstrate that, right? So having a world-class proposal is number one. Number two, scheduling what we call a bi-directional presentation of that proposal is a key piece, right? Being able to present a proposal to the true decision makers and basically recite the world-class proposal, or recite what we call the SMART proposal. Hey, when we met with Jim Smith, John Jones, and Michael's whatever, we learned that these were the business objectives. The alternate strategies that we consider together are here. Here's the solution. This is the delivery schedule, your acceptance criteria, the price, and why we're uniquely qualified. That's a bi-directional. We were able to, at the end of every component, ask the customer, have we captured that information correctly? Are there any changes to that? And getting the customer feedback in a conversation. Now, a conversation could be face-to-face. That's always preferable.
Mm-hmm.
But most corporations are doing business internationally, so it can be done over a conference call, a webinar, whatever the
But you want to be in a conversation. You want to be in a live conversation.
You want to propose
Mm-hmm.
and close instead of quote and hope.
Right.
So the challenge I'll give to the CEOs on this call is look at the calendars of your salespeople and see how many of those calendars have a spot where they're presenting a proposal. The second thing is ask to review the artifact. Ask your sales teams to look at, in the next top 10 deals that they're looking to close, ask to see the proposal and see if in that proposal these components are there. Again, most of the time you'll be very, very disappointed in what you see.
So you've got an equation here, and I know you referenced it. Can you just tell us quickly what that is?
Yes, and I'll talk more about this. If you look at the summary of being able to measure why a customer buys or doesn't buy, or a summary equation, some tangibles on why a sales team is effective or not, you'll see this equation, RVBR plus RM at FMP. And let me describe that. That means that the sales team is able to create relative value. That's RV. Relative value is the value to that customer at that time to improve a business problem, and it's important to that customer at that time. RV equals BR, business result. You're able to describe the business result, not the technology result, not that they've upgraded a server or improved upon a lens power or tolerance or time of developing a lens or a technology device, but actually the business result. They've been able to improve that lens, and that lens is now able to provide that microscope the ability to compete at a different level, do more tests within the hospital, get more reimbursements for that organization. But there's a business result that is anticipated with using your product. Then we say the business result plus risk mitigation. How that sales team has mitigated the customer's risk. Contractual risk, right? Are they buying the right product, the right terms and conditions? Delivery risk, timing risk, quality risk, product failure risk, obsolescence risk. How that customer is insulated from the risk is the RM. And last is FMP, fair market price.
Right.
We want to teach our customers to buy fair market price. Not the highest price, not the lowest price, but what's fair so that it can be supported on both sides.
So you've got a statistic at the bottom of your slide here that's pretty concerning, that 21% of the skills is what 74% of the salespeople have. So is this going to be difficult for them to execute? Explain your numbers there.
Well, I'll turn this one around on you. You're a headhunter of sales trainers. What do you see?
So I see that most salespeople don't have the skills required to do something like this. So we just had a lot of things that need to get done. And I don't see a lot of salespeople who can do it without some help and support.
Right. So what we're seeing here is 74% of the B2B salespeople that were assessed have less than 21% of the skills required to develop a business case and close effectively.
Right.
So there's two things the CEO can do to improve upon that. The easiest one is to implement, guess what, a sales methodology.
So that helps these people.
Yes, the sales methodology becomes
Right.
the steps that they follow.
Mm-hmm.
So what we can do is take ordinary people and get them to perform extraordinarily by using a good methodology. So a methodology is going to enable a sales rep that isn't perfect, doesn't have it all right, but if he or she uses the right positioning statement, learns how to build a business case, and is able to close effectively. Also, using good technical salespeople, good technical people in the organization. I just want to say that within a technology company, the sales engineers or the engineers, the product management, the engineering resources are usually underutilized and undervalued, and bringing them into the sales cycle earlier is an important thing. And many salespeople don't want to do that. They're afraid they're not going to say the right thing.
Right.
But by training the sales engineering team in a sales methodology, now you've got both sides working together very, very effectively. And that helps. So one is by using and implementing a methodology, that takes a significant bite out of that number. The second thing is you've got to assess your sales team. You have to use a third-party assessment tool and make a determination on whether or not they're trainable or coachable. If they're trainable or coachable, get some good sales training. We do that in our Smart Sales Institute. Everyone knows that, but there's a lot of good sales training out there. Train the trainable, and the ones that are not, you have to make a decision. Not all people are born to be in sales, and most CEOs can't assess that correctly, and many of them don't have the heart to let them go. So really looking at filling the team up with potential performers and getting them using a methodology is a very, very important piece.
Right, so having the method and hiring the top 26%, not the bottom 74%.
Yes, but why don't we quote some statistics, right? Why don't you give us those statistics and why that's so difficult?
Right, so the true statistics in the sales hiring is that only 6% of all salespeople today have 90% of the skills and attributes required. So mathematically, we can't all hire the top 6%. The next 20% have something between 50 and 90% of the skills and attributes required, and then you already heard the statistic of the bottom 74%. So I think it does go back to, having the methodology, having a structure and a system in place, and focusing on hiring as many of the top 26% as you can attract to your organization. And having a good method and having a good sales leadership team will help you do that.
I think the point too is that when you look at the there's about 1.8 million business-to-business technology salespeople in the marketplace right now, in the U.S. marketplace. I know we've got international folks on the call, but I don't believe the statistics are different in the U.K. There's a low number of B2B technology salespeople. Their skills are roughly in that 21 percentile of what they need to effectively do what we just talked about on this call. Most importantly, though, of that 1.8 million, there's in addition to that, there's 900,000 unfilled B2B technology jobs unfilled. So it is very, very difficult to get the right people in the right seats.
No, absolutely.
Using methodology is a great way to take the first step in getting, again, the ordinary performer to perform extraordinary.
And it makes them want to work for you. So we said a lot today in 30 minutes of time, and we referred to the book you wrote earlier, but I guess my last question for you today is, why did you write the book, and is this something that the people on the call can have access to?
Sure. Let's just say this, that the book was written because there is very little written about B2B technology sales, and what is written, the majority of what is written out there right now is either obsolete or just incorrect. Foolishness. It's all about the relationship, lowest price wins, it's feature functionality, those feature benefit close, those types of things are off-putting, they're not effective, they don't work. So the first approach in developing this book was the idea of getting something that's statistically supported of what really works in a business-to-business.
So we want the nonfiction version of the sales
That's
book.
right. That's right. Number one. But number two is then when you get into that, there are some very good books out there that really discuss, and I recommend people read those books too. The Challenger Sales Model, Spin Selling, Power-Based Selling. These are very good books. But the problem is they're conceptual, right? There's a lot of good concepts in there. There isn't a manual, a do-it-yourself manual. The Smart Sales Method 2016 is a CEO do-it-yourself manual in implementing a sales methodology in their organization. So it's the only book of its kind that's specifically for CEOs of technology companies, specific to implementing a method that the organization can use over and over and over again, and being able to understand why to do it. Second piece is it's about an hour and a half read.
So
right?
It's quick.
It's a very quick read. We left out a lot of the the stories and the Thomas Edison quotes and the Muhammad Ali quotes and all of those motivational quotes, and we really put in what's factually going to work.
Excellent, excellent. So can the CEOs on today's call, can we share it with them?
Yes, yes. If you email me, you're at jmorone@worldleadersales.com, just on this screen, we will send you a free copy through Amazon. So we'll send that. There is a catch. Here's the catch. If we send you the book, you're obligated to give an opinion, to actually give a rating of the book, to write a review on the book. And I really want the truth. I want to know what your thoughts are. So I'd love to send the book. It'll be sent to you. It'll be gift sent to you. But your obligation is when you get it, please review it and give us a review.
Great.
Why don't we open up to questions?
Yep, so we have a few questions from our audience. So I'm going to start with the first one I see here. But the question from one of the callers is that if the CEO is not comfortable leading sales, maybe he's a techie, maybe she doesn't feel comfortable delegating, can they delegate these things to someone else if they're just really not comfortable doing it?
Yes, yes. But let's use the term delegate, right? If you use the proper word for delegate, it means that the delegator still maintains responsibility for the task getting done. It's simply delegated to the delegatee. So the reality here is you can delegate it, but what you'll delegate is making sure that your sales manager, ready, implements a methodology. 2, is able to have a pipeline development strategy that meets your requirements. And number 3, that there is a closing approach to presenting and closing. So it can be delegated to a good sales manager, but it is a scenario where you have to be very, very careful that it's done effectively. In many, many instances, what you'll find is the sales manager will attempt to relieve the CEO of the responsibility and say things like, "Don't worry, I've got it taken care of. I'll make it happen. I know what I need to do. I'm experienced," and they'll show a resume or a track record of success. That's not working today. That's not working in 2016, 17, and 18. They may have been successful in the past. When you look at the marketplace today, it's changed. How to get to a customer, what to say to a customer, how to build a business case, and how to get deals done is very, very different. So my answer to this question is that the CEO can delegate it, but they have to know what they're delegating and being able to track it and being involved in those meetings weekly. Know the top 10 deals. Basically use the guidelines in the Smart Sales Methods book to gut check the sales manager. It is designed to do that, so you can look at the principles within the book and ask the sales manager, where is the proposal? I want to see the business case. What is our pipeline development strategy? What are we doing in these areas? And that will help. So that was a very good question.
Right. So, and also it led to a follow-on question coming from another one of the people on the call. But is how do you hire your sales managers? You talked about and now we talked about salespeople not having the right skill set. So I'll add to that. Is the skill set the same? And how do we know the sales managers have those skill sets?
No, it's a very different skill set. First off, I'll answer a question that wasn't asked. If your sales team is bigger than 10 or 12, then it makes sense to have a sales manager. But if you've got less than 10 salespeople on your team, they are within your span of control. They are within your span of control, and you need to be able to manage them. Also, when you look at, let's say you've got 10 people, and you look at what those 10 salespeople have to produce more to be able to afford a 6-figure sales manager.
Right.
It's not fair to the salespeople to build that cost into the model and up their quotas to be able to afford the sales manager.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part of this question is that if you've got 10 or more, you can start looking at hiring a sales manager. The second part of the question is very simple, and that is sales managers do 4 things beautifully in this order. So let's start off with, at the beginning of the day, they motivate the sales team. They're talking to every salesperson every day, and they're basically asking that salesperson.
Every person every day.
Every person every day. Let's get right to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a number 1 in your marketplace, and you want to win the big deals, and you really care about it being effective, that sales manager has to talk to their salespeople and basically ask them what is their plan for the day, how will they accomplish it, and what support do they need from the organization to make sure they're there. Salespeople go through a lot of rejection, their moods are up and down, and in that conversation, the sales manager will understand, or the CEO will understand if this person's ready for the day and what they're missing, and also what they need to accomplish. Through the day, they're working as a coach. And in coaching, I mean pre-call planning, on-call support, post-call debriefing. That is, what is our game plan? What are we looking to accomplish here? How do we measure it? What is the conversation? And as Dave Curlin said, if you don't get down to the conversation and listen to what your salespeople are saying to customers, you're going to be very surprised when you do. They're not going to be representing your company the way you expect them to. They're going to be talking about things. So that's 2. Number 3 is holding accountability, and that is holding salespeople to become accountable for their numbers. And this is probably one of the biggest weaknesses that I see out there, either the overuse or underuse of accountability. A newly promoted sales manager will tend to overuse accountability, and some of the more collegial folks will tend to underuse it. But the reality is we have to hold salespeople accountable to the number and the actions to get to the number, right? How meetings, fit assessments, presentations, and closes. So number 3 is accountability, And number 4 is with this shortage of salespeople and recognizing that the average hold of a salesperson is 18 to 24 months, they have to be recruiting all the time. They have to be consistently recruiting all the time as part of their job. So the 4 things are motivate, coach, hold accountability, and recruit is the function.
Right. So the, I guess, final question that we have time for at this point is, there's a question about scalability. Is all the advice you gave the same no matter what size of the company, what size of the organization? I know you mentioned a team size when a manager should go into place, but how scalable are the things we talked about today?
Sure. If you look at that 10-to-1 ratio of span of control and you look at how to build that, it starts off with a methodology implementation. Number 2, it works around the idea of what to do day to day, and then looking at as its sales team scales. So if you think about 10-to-1, you're looking at 10 sales people per manager. That might be 10 salespeople working globally.
Okay.
That might be within a city, but it's about a 10-to-1 ratio.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, Joe, thank you so much for the time you spent today. I think it was a very enlightening topic for all of us. We enjoyed the discussion. And remember, any of you on the call, if you do want a copy of the book, just email Joe and write a review on Amazon, and it's yours to have. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you for those who had some great questions for us to answer. And Joe, thanks again for being our guest speaker today.
Thank you so much, and remember, nothing happens until something is sold.
Have a great day. Happy selling.